Excellent.
All right, Colin. I think we're probably good to go. We got a pretty solid room. 13 people in here with us today.
Yep. No, it's definitely good, and give it to Kelly for watching and monitoring all that's in the room as his day-to-day activities does. Let's give me a quick second. I'm trying to send on that. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. I have the opportunity to stand in for the incredible Janice. I know, Mikhail has his Janice Baskin hat on too over there, but Janice asked me to come in today and introduce you all to Erin and Kelly, of course, who you're here to see, not me. But Erin, I just want to introduce Erin. Erin is what it is the Edmonton Regional Innovation Network. So there's a bunch of regional innovation networks around Alberta that AI Alberta Innovates really supports and helps entrepreneurs all over the place. Edmonton has one called ERIN, which makes sense, right? And it really is a coalition of organizations, businesses, and individuals dedicated to fostering innovation, technology, and knowledge-based startups in the Edmonton region. So we are, as mentioned, funded by Alberta Innovates Regional Innovation Network program, and then ERIN strengthens the local innovation ecosystem by aligning service providers, efficiently connect entrepreneurs with resources, capital, customers, and community support as part of a broader RIN initiative, like I said, all around the province. So ERIN enhances collaboration, accessibility, and impact, ensuring entrepreneurs and SMEs receive the right support at every stage in their innovation journey. So that's a little bit there. I might tweak it and change it. We've been working on our vision and mission statements to be a little bit more clear. But that is where we sit today, and it is an awesome organization. I've had the opportunity to sit on the steering committee for, geez, I think almost since its reinception. It came back in, I think, 2019 or so, and I've kind of been in and around helping out since then. Great group, really cool stuff, and it really is trying to be that connective tissue to help a lot of the partners, the ecosystem, the entrepreneurs, and everybody come together. So today we have an opportunity to sit and talk with and listen to Kelly. Kelly Kennedy is a friend, an incredible emerging entrepreneur, lighting the world up in the world of podcasting. He is, and it shows his strength is business development. So I'm not sure actually what even you're talking about today, but it's just great to have you on the show. But so Kelly's background and stuff in business development, I mean, he is a force of nature. But on top of that, he took that into making a podcast, and that podcast is absolutely skyrocketed around the world and is doing really cool stuff. He's also built an ecosystem for entrepreneurs wanting to learn more and really come together and have a peer-to-peer relationship in all kinds of cool areas, but partly in business development, but all kinds of areas of just getting together, talking, and being real. I've had a chance to be a part of it for a number of the events, and it's a great group. Really, really cool folks from all around North America, all weighing in and just being real and talking about entrepreneurship. So enough from Colin. Over to Kelly. Please take it away and inspire us all.
Amazing. Well, I have to give a gigantic shout out to Janice as well, who was an early adopter, just like you, Colin, of Catalyst Club community, and kind of came in there for a few events and saw what we were doing and said, Kelly, we have to do this for Erin. So that's why I'm here. That's the conversation today. So for those of you who are meeting me for the first time, it's a pleasure to meet all of you as well. My name is Kelly Kennedy, born and raised in the Edmonton area. I now reside out in Stony Plain, but for a very long time, I was in Edmonton. I started and launched the business development podcast in Edmonton. We started off essentially as like, I just want to share business development information with the world because what I recognized, as a young business development professional was that there was really nothing for us. I found myself, in 2013 when I first got into the industry, realizing there was no resources for BD people specifically. It was all for salespeople or marketing, and you had to figure out how to take those concepts and make them work for BD. and so and so I found myself in 2022 sitting in a Boston Pizza across from my beautiful fiance, having conversations about what 2023 should look like. And we were talking about we both loved podcasting. We both loved, we saw the future was definitely starting to lean more towards content. And I just kind of said at the time, I was like, I think I want to start a podcast. Like, I love podcasting. I love listening to podcasts. Why don't we just try it? And so, like many a podcaster, I bought a bunch of equipment and sat it in the corner of my room for 2 months because I was scared shitless to get out there and start talking to the world. I remember asking myself at the time, who's going to listen? I sure hope people in Calgary might listen. That would be really cool, just down the road. Long story short, guys, we release episode 283 tomorrow. We will cross 3 years of the business development podcast here this February. And I do believe at this point, we are likely one of the largest, if not the largest, business show in the Edmonton region. So we've made a little bit of an impact in the world. We're listened to in 152 countries, Colin, around the world. And I was blessed to have Mr. Christensen as my very not the first guest, but I would say probably one of my very first bigger guests. So episodes, I want to say it was 16 and 18 for those of you listening who want to hear Colin Christensen and his crazy, incredible, life-altering journey. That's a great episode to this day. Go check it out if you haven't heard us before. That would be a good one to start. But yeah, it's an honor and a privilege. And over the past, 3 years, the past 5 years, I've ran capital business development here in the city, doing fractional business development, coaching, training, consulting. It's led more into the training and consulting over the past couple of years, but we still do occasional fractional BD leadership. But yeah, that's my world. Business development is kind of the world. And over the past 6 months, so Catalyst Club is 6 months old, Colin, just so you're aware. So over the past 6 months, I did start a community here, not just locally, but across North America. It's virtual. All of our events are virtual. We do an event every single week. But what it was designed around was over 150 interviews, guys. It kept coming up over and over and over again, speaking to leaders of $400 million companies to brand new entrepreneurs. Leadership is lonely. I have nobody to speak to. I can't talk to my wife or my partner. They're sick of hearing about it. I can't talk to my co-founder because they're expecting me to have my stuff together. I can't talk to my employees because they're really expecting me to have my stuff together. I'm really lonely. And it's crazy. If you've been in Catalyst Club, for those of you who may be members already, you've probably heard a few stories in there. And one of the big stories that came up was we had one of our leaders find himself on an apartment floor wanting to kill himself, successful in every single way you could imagine, had the nice cars, had the nice house, had the beautiful family, had the great business, and was just rocked inside. And so that's a very common thing. And that comes up in leadership everywhere. And so Catalyst Club was founded around that. It's a club built on values of support and peer-to-peer, like Colin said, peer-to-peer mentorship, peer-to-peer understanding, because you have to be surrounded by people who get it, right? And if you can be part of an entrepreneurship community, a leadership community, that's all that's there. When you come in and share your journey or share what's going on for you, it's very likely that you're speaking to people who actually get you. And so that's what we're building. And we do 4 events every single month, one every single week, stuff from Coffee with Rockstars, like Colin said, which is just an awesome coffee. I've been told it's like therapy for entrepreneurs. That's not my words, but the words of our members. And we do unplugged Q&A, which is basically what we're doing today, which is going to be, an Ask It expert. And actually what's super cool is that I get to do this with Colin, just like I do it in Catalyst Club with Colin. So we got 2 experts in the room today. I'm excited about that. And then we do 2 other events each month. One is a Catalyst workshop, which is just as it sounds, come in and learn something about business, about entrepreneurship, leadership. Or you can come to a Catalyst session, which is thought leadership sessions, usually put on by our members talking about their areas of expertise. So it's a lot of fun. And yeah, that's my world. It's been an awesome couple of years. So it's a pleasure to be here, Colin. Okay. Well, let's lead into it. So, you guys aren't just here to hear my story. You're here to hopefully learn something. So, with regards to podcasting, business development, a little bit on entrepreneurship, although we have, the entrepreneurial roadmap guy right here in this room. So he could definitely help. He's mentored a couple people. Hey, Colin, what are we at? A couple thousand by now? We got some pretty great expertise in this room. So I'm going to let Michael maybe start to moderate. If you have questions, business development, entrepreneurship, podcasting, uh, shoot away, shoot away. That's what you're here for. Um, Please just drop your questions inside of the messaging, and we will have Michael start to moderate it, and we'll go back and forth here. Who's first?
I'll start with a question just because, well, it looked like Roland might weigh in there too, but I'll give everybody a minute to ask. So, what was the hardest part about getting that first few things done, Kelly, when it came to podcasting? You had the equipment.
Yeah.
What was the catalyst
Mhm.
on the thing where you actually set it up and actually started to press record?
Oh my gosh, man. I was so scared, Colin. I was so scared. And I don't even know why. And I think many entrepreneurs find themselves in that same space. And, I would make an argument that everybody in this room with us right now, you are all experts at something. Every single one of you. It doesn't have to necessarily be business. There's other things in life that you are absolutely experts at, whether it be parenting, whether it be the hobby you love, maybe it's tennis, hockey, whatever you do, whatever's your thing, you are an expert in something. And the funny thing is that I feel like if you're an expert in something, you do have a slight obligation to teach that thing. I really believe that. I truly believe that every entrepreneur should be out there and their way of giving back should be to teach the next generation in one way or another. But we get very afraid with that, Colin, and I was too. And I think I found myself questioning. Obviously, it was the imposter syndrome, which comes up all the time. Who am I to do this? And I found myself saying, well, who am I? Who am I? There's lots of business development people out there. They're not sharing anything, but who am I to do it? Right. There's people that work for, Fluor. And I did work for Fluor later, but there's people that work for Fluor. There's people who work for ACOM, for CNRL. Like there's many people out there who could probably speak to business development as good or better than I. But here's the thing, they don't. And I think that's the thing that you have to think about as well for my experts in the room. Yeah, there's a lot of people who could do it, but are they? Right? And so I did find myself calling, my catalyst was Shelby and, my partner for the rest of you. We were sitting in bed one night and she looked at me and she said, "Kelly, we have a young family, we have a lot of expenses, and we have $2,000 of podcast equipment sitting in the corner of the room. I need you to either sell that equipment or make a podcast, but one way or another, I need you to do something with it." And so it was a pretty motivating thing, Colin. It was very motivating. That night, I went down and I set up the podcast equipment, I figured out the recording software, and I recorded the trailer episode for the business development podcast. And literally every week from that point forward, I released 2 episodes. Come hell or high water, we had pipes burst, we had family challenges, we had screaming children, we had you name it. But I just committed. I committed to 2 episodes a week, come hell or high water. And I'm very pleased to say every single episode of the business development podcast is a new episode. We've never done a rerun.
So we have a question from Steve. Do you have a theme and how do you stay true to it? Your guests should support that theme. How do you pick them? What happens if they disappoint you?
Do you have a theme? Do you stay true to it? Your guests should support that theme. Okay, amazing. That's a really, really great question, Steve. Yes, we do. So everything regarding the business development podcast is related to business. Pretty easy theme. It can be like mental health in a way that relates to business, or it can be entrepreneurship, or it can be business development related. But we have kept everything in there. We don't talk politics. We don't talk things outside of the business realm. But I do speak to my own experience. So almost everything we talk about in the BDP, especially with the individual episodes, are based on my own experience and my relation to the world. And the reason that I try to do that as much as possible is people want to know your authentic journey. They don't just want data. They want to know you. They want to understand, what does it mean to you? What are the lessons they can learn from you? And those lessons are learned through your experience. And honestly, I've struggled with that theme, Steve, throughout the advent of AI, because actually AI came in, like the idea of chat GPT per se, came in about 3 months into the show. I hadn't actually even tried ChatGPT until 6 months into the business development podcast. And so we found that we were starting to use it for a lot of data. We were starting to use it for a lot of ideas for the show. But what I found was is that the more that I used AI, the more that I lost myself in the central theme, which was a show about Kelly Kennedy's experience, right? And so you're absolutely right. Actually, we've struggled with how do you adapt theme and keep it yourself in this new world. And what we've tried to do now is go back to as much handwritten content as possible. I still handwrite a lot of my content. With regards to guests, yeah, in the beginning it was kind of hard because it's a gamble, right? Especially those first, let's call it first 50 episodes. The reality is most podcasts don't get past 7 episodes. Most podcasts fail before their 7th episode. And fail doesn't mean they failed. It just means that the person doing it gave up. They quit doing it. Podcasts don't fail. People stop doing them. That's what ends up happening. So understand that, like, in the beginning it was really hard, and I have to give a giant shout out to somebody in this room right now who supported me from the beginning, Colin Christensen. Like I said, I think he was my guest for my 16th, my 16th and 18th episodes. We learned his journey, and I think, Colin, a lot of the lessons that I learned preparing for that interview piggybacked into the future interviews, which made people want to come on the show. They saw that I was empathetic, that I cared about the story, that for me it was about the story. I truly believe that there's lessons in every single interview, right? Everybody has an incredible journey. Every entrepreneur I know has lived an incredible journey. They either were entrepreneurs as kids or their parents were entrepreneurs, and it leads into today. And so I actually haven't had a guest disappoint me because I'm not expecting anything from them but their authentic journey. And there's a lesson to be learned in every single journey. So yeah, it's all about perspective. You can't have somebody disappoint you if you're not expecting a specific outcome.
So the question came from Leanne. Can you speak to the difference in tools and supports within a business for smaller organizations, 50 employees, in a BD versus a larger businesses?
Speak to the differences in tools and supports. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Yeah. So I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of really cool companies. I started working in business development, Leanne, at a company here in the city called Engrity Inspection Services. At the time, the business was brand new. They just got a brand new office. They literally had 3 employees. I was the operations slash business development guy, although I didn't know I was in business development yet. He told me later. We can get into that story. So I've had the experience of doing it at that small scale. And then later on in my career, working with Capital Business Development, I was hired on with Fluor Corporation, working with their Fluor Driver division here in Edmonton. And the Fluor Driver division, we ran, I want to say, about 800 employees at peak turnaround season. Here's the funny thing. The tools, I love what you said about tools. I love how you said, is business development the same or different? Because actually, business development is the same. No matter whether you're a solopreneur trying to get your name out there or whether you are a big corporation like Fluor, the business development job is the same. But you're right. The tools that they use are different. It doesn't mean that you couldn't use the same tools. I think maybe that's an important distinction to understand. But the main tools that you ultimately need, no matter where you're at, is you're going to need, obviously, your cell phone, your best tool yet, your computer, your email, still the best tools for direct contact. But at some of the larger organizations, you're going to run with an ERP system. I'm not a fan of them, but a lot of the big corporations, they utilize ERP systems, which have essentially a built-in CRM into their greater project management software and accounting software. Um, but what you're seeing with some of the smaller ones is they're using more agile systems. They're utilizing Salesforce. They're utilizing Pipedrive. They're utilizing CRM systems that are built specifically for CRM. And I actually think that small businesses have an advantage with that because CRM systems that are built modern and specifically for business development, they're less clunky, they're easier, they're more efficient, they integrate better with other softwares typically than the greater ERP softwares, which were built specifically for a large scale organization. So I would say, like, from that standpoint, they're different. Some of the larger corporations are also using contact tracking software. You can absolutely get that as a smaller business as well. I'm actually not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of contact tracking. I think in the age of internet, It's still very easy to figure out emails. It's still very easy to connect with people on LinkedIn, make an introduction that way, ask them for their phone number, ask them to set up a call. I still find 90% of my data the old fashioned way, calling the mainline office, asking for the person, or finding, their emails either via LinkedIn or by finding email formats for the company. But yes, the larger organizations, they are using data. They use data the business development world to find out if projects are coming. So one of the ways that, like, for instance, a big company like Fluor is operating, they typically know, especially in their maintenance arm, what are the big construction projects coming up every year. So they're paying big dollars to essentially accumulate data to understand the project world over the next 5 years. So that is an advantage they have over the independent, is that they have the dollars and cents to buy research. That's maybe if we wanted to go with one main differentiator between large scale corporations and small companies, large scale companies can afford to buy research that small companies cannot. I hope that answers your question, Leanne.
Next question came from Steve. How much time do you spend on editing, and how much time do you cut from the average podcast?
Oh boy, you're really going to make me admit that, Steve? It's a lot. It's a lot. Truth be told, a show takes a lot of editing. Here's the thing. Humans speak funny. We do. And I still make mistakes all the time. I actually make mistakes on my show regularly, and we clean them up, and they're little mistakes, right? They're the butts, the ums, the ahs, they're the pauses, they're the mush mouth. And the funny thing about podcasting is you mush mouth all the time. You'll go to say something that's gonna come out like crazy, right? Or you may end up going down a tangent. I sometimes find, because I'm doing a very authentic show, because I'm handwriting my own notes, I sometimes just go off script a little bit. I'm not like a huge script guy. And so ultimately, I'll find myself going off on a tangent. I might decide that I don't really want to go on that tangent, or maybe I want to elaborate on that tangent. And so I edit a lot. However, the editing has never been easier. It's never been easier. You can absolutely utilize tools like Adobe. Cutting things is very easy. Once you understand how editing works, you can edit very, very quickly. But it still takes about a full listen through. So I found that from like a quality control standpoint, I usually listen to my episode about 2 full times. By the time you hear it live, I've listened to the whole thing through about twice. The first time through, during the main edit where I'm making all the cuts, and I'm making sure that the things that made the big things, the big mistakes are out. And then I'm applying plugins, right? Because I record in a basement studio. So we just got like wall paneling up for the first time in the show. Like we have audio panels for the first time in the show. So I'm getting a pretty clean sound right now. But historically, we were dealing with quite a bit of reverb recording in a room. Many of you have experienced that. And so you have to utilize plugins through tools like Adobe Audition to get that sound to be pretty close to a studio, which you absolutely can. Anybody can record from a home studio at this point and get nearly perfect audio through plugins. But it does take lessons. It does take learning. Over the past 3 years, I would say that I'm constantly learning, Steve. I never stop learning. Audio production is an ongoing learning thing. There's new tools coming in all the time. There's a program right now called, I want to call it Auphonic, if you wanted to check it out. And it does all of your editing for you. It does all of like the audio processing, can make your voice sound really good. You can utilize tools like Riverside and Descript to do your recording, and it uses AI to make the cuts for you. So there's a lot of ways to reduce that time, but I still do it old school. I still listen to the whole thing through in Adobe. I make all the cuts manually. I blend it back together manually. I would say that you asked the time, for every hour of recorded audio, it probably takes me about 3 hours to come to a finished clean product. So you're looking at about 4 hours for every hour if you wanted to just put an easy math to it. I hope that answers it for you.
So next question coming from Roland. How do you stay focused on what you do?
Oh my goodness, that's a really good question. You know what I found, Roland, is that I learned how to work from home in COVID, as many of us did. I'd originally worked in an office, and so I spent 10 years of my career working at Engrady and working in their downtown office, and I loved it. I absolutely loved working in an office, and I think the reason is that I valued. Yeah, this is a tough one. This is a tough one because entrepreneurship, especially modern entrepreneurship, relies so much on us to work from home. But there was a benefit of working from an office. And the benefit of working from the office was when I was at work, I was at work. And when I was off work, I was off work. So I got to go home, I got to tune out, I got to hang out with my kids, my wife, my TV, whatever. It was me time. I could do whatever I wanted at home. There was no work that typically happened at home. And it went from that to COVID to them shutting down all those offices and sending us all home. And like many of you, we've never returned, right? I've worked at home now since 2020. And so I started my business working from home in 2020. And for the first 6 months of working from home, I actually had to I created a little office in my basement and I had to lock myself in there. I couldn't let my kids in. I couldn't let my dog in. I couldn't let anyone in because I needed to like essentially reprogram myself to work from home. And eventually I was able to do that. And so now when I do work, if I can put myself in a room and I can tune out what's going on in the rest of my house. But that's been actually a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's been really good for business. On the other hand, it's been really shitty for just everyday life. Because I talk about it in my show tomorrow. There is no work-life balance. There is no work-life balance. If something's going wrong in your home life, it's going to affect your work. If something's going bad in your work life, it's going to affect your home, right? And all of this is affecting you because there is no disassociating yourself from either or. So the problem is that by creating an office from home, by making it so easy to work at home, I have since that point, I've done a great job of working from home. I'm a great entrepreneur from that standpoint, but it has been challenging. It has been challenging because I do find myself down here on a Saturday. I do find myself sometimes down here on a Sunday making this change and that change. And you might tell yourself like, "Oh, it'll only take you 20 minutes to make this edit or to make this fix." But pretty much every time I lock myself in this room, it takes an hour from my life. And so if you look at it from that standpoint, I'm more efficient than ever, Roland, I think, because I've managed to create a space for that. But on the other hand, now I have to be very deliberate about separating my work life from my home life and actually like truly getting rid of things like losing this for a couple hours if I'm out with my kids, literally locking the door to this office and not coming down here. You can do pretty incredible things, but you have to make sure once you do create that workspace where you can just be dedicated and be focused and get that done, that you still create that safe space for you and your family. Roland, can
Well,
you unmute for a sec? I'd love to have your feedback on that. I want to understand your side of it.
Well, I mean, for me, I am doing AI and generative AI stuff, and I'm back from my background software, AI, and data science stuff. So, right, so a lot of times, like similar to you, I do have like I am in the basement, as you can see in the
Yeah.
background, and the challenge is that like for me especially is that with all the hype is going on is I sometimes I just find out I don't spend enough time like coding, right? Like every day there's some kind of new package comes out, new companies, startups online. Like I have to reevaluate their services and stuff and see, okay,
Mm-hmm.
does that obsolete part of work I'm already building or like, and should I adjust my path forward? And at the same time, I still have to like attend to on the business side. Like if the customer come over, I have to look, bring them on through the path and how to discover like under the case, like how the AI gonna adapt to like, for example, whatever I do, like it can adapt to like augment what you do instead of like nowadays a lot of people talk about AI replacing you, right? So instead,
Mm-hmm.
so need to draw the borderline between, need to draw the like, okay, you don't want to give AI this, yes, you do want to share this with AI, and then in between, like, okay, some of the things like you guys are already doing was obsoleted, but the thing is that not everything is obsoleted. You still need to do something, right? Um,
Yeah.
so it that's why I come with a question, right? Like the thing is that, uh, do you like from time to time feel like I want to build my own trajectory and to development on my uh develop my own maybe the pack like right now I'm working on the own package and to allow people just use the AI on their own computer and stuff. So uh diverging between the times and say okay, it's it feels like just hitting the moving target at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's just, and sometimes it just feels like, okay, I have inspiration, I have to go right now, right? Like it's just like
Yeah.
down to the basement right now,
Yeah.
and then like in the next 2 hours, my wife was like, "Where are you right now?" Like the kids need you, right?
I
So,
know. I know. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You're
yeah.
I know exactly what you're saying. I know exactly what you mean, especially with the inspiration, right? Because like even writing
Mhm.
show plans. I've been downstairs in the basement. I still handwrite. I'm a huge handwriter. So I still handwrite all my show plans. And sometimes the inspiration just isn't there. I wanted to do it last night and I just wasn't feeling it. Like you have to go, like you said, you have to go with kind of how you're feeling. But I also understand what you mean by like you can disappear to a basement and just be gone for a couple hours and suddenly your family's like, where the heck's dad? Right?
Mhm. Yep.
I totally get that. My advice to you with regards to focus would be I would say that I got way more efficient when I started living by my calendar. So I live by my calendar, man. I schedule everything. I schedule, you know, my calls time, my data entry time. If I'm going to be updating coaching programs or things along those lines, I'm updating those too. But everything is scheduled right down to my kids' soccer games, guys. Like for real. And I know that sounds like for some of you, you might be like, seriously, I'm just not interested in doing that. I get it. Neither am I. Right. But there's something magical about scheduling your time. And it's that you tend to do focused work on that thing during that time. And most of us don't need to do a lot of work. And it always surprises people in my coaching programs when we sit down and we actually figure out how much business development do you really need to be doing. People look at business development, they're like, oh man, like I got to dedicate like a week to this, right? No, you probably need to dedicate about 4 hours a week to this, but you need to do it on a consistent basis, right? And so it's the same thing. I'm sure it's the same thing with your coding. Like if you can just sit down and dedicate 4 or 5 straight hours consistent to coding, you probably make a hell of a progress, right? It's just making sure that you are able to dedicate that focused amount of time. So maybe instead of trying to figure out where everyone else is at, if you are just focused 4 hours at a time, let's call it, you know, two days a week for 8 hours, you're just focused on coding. What would that mean for you? What would that mean for your program? You can worry about whatever else is going on later. You can make your changes down the line, but for you, getting a working product is probably what matters most. Would that be a fair statement to say?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so, like, you know, I can spend all day looking at what other podcasts are doing, or I can make my podcast. And that would be my recommendation to you as well, right? We
Mhm.
can't control other people. We can't control what happens. We can't control what new product AI or whatever comes out, but we can control what we're building. And I think that being the case, that has to be where we focus ourselves.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
You're very welcome. Who is next?
I have a question from Steve. Do you have a rule, like for example, let the guest talk or discover their version of the truth?
Yeah, actually, Steve, do you mind unmuting and coming on? I'd love to hear your voice.
Okay, there you go. That's me.
Amazing. Oh, there he is. There he is. I love to actually talk to people. So let's do it. Yeah. Let the guests talk. Yeah. I just think it's like anything in conversation. You know when I learned to be a good business developer, Steve, was when I learned how to
Hmm.
shut up, ask questions, and just shut up. I used to talk myself out of everything, and you can talk yourself out of everything if you talk too much. And so, what I typically find if you listen to my podcasts is that I do come fairly prepared with about 10 or 15 questions that I like to go through with them. But here's the thing. I probably only ever get to about 3 of the questions that I write down because their story goes in such a different direction 9 times out of 10 than I could have ever guessed. And then I'll have questions regarding that journey or that path. And so I'm never really disappointed because I ultimately have to keep them like I want to understand their journey and their story. And so even though you should come prepared to any podcast, the way that I look at it is come prepared to come back on track. So if you get a guest who goes way off into like left field and you're like, I need to bring them back to business land or I need to bring them back to their own story. I find that's where the questions can come in really handy and having those prepared ideas. But like I said, I think if I look at my shows, most of my interviews are about an hour long. and I probably only ever hit on about 2 or 3 of the questions that I really wanted to ask them, and then their story typically goes somewhere else that I just want to explore further with them. So I look at it as an exploratory journey.
So I think the easiest story to tell is one that involves people and personality. It's always their truth and it's always
Yeah.
just the way it seems to them. Now, that doesn't always have a huge, I mean, personality can be magnetic, um, can be. The podcasts that I enjoy the most have sort of a central theme around them.
Yeah.
And Markham Haskamp has got really an excellent series of video casts about what he calls the energy transition. And then he ruins it by calling names to the premier and all of these other people.
Mm-hmm.
None of those names prove your point.
Mm-hmm.
None of those, little childish things make you more right. He's just trying to not spending adequate time to argue her down or prove her wrong. Anyway, so that was where that was coming from, was that it would be nice to, like, if you want to tell a good story, use personality. If you want to really have adhesion, you kind of have to have a theme that people can get on board to. And
Yeah.
my one little comment was, there's a guy who's got a really cool message. It's good to, he may be right. I mean, it's actually a powerful message, and he ruins it by calling down the people that don't agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
right.
it's so different for me because I avoid I avoid the political side, and I do that very intentionally because in my opinion, it doesn't matter what side of a line you fall on, business is business, right? There's people doing business on both sides. And so I ultimately wanted to keep it very business oriented. And so typically when we're on the BDP and we're doing interviews, I'm learning about their entrepreneurial journey. How did they end up on that path? How did they make the choice to become an entrepreneur? Walk me through the pitfalls, the good, the bad, the ugly, and then walk me through the lessons into what area of expertise you're in. And so, like, for instance, if they're a mental health expert, I'd love to understand the principles that they speak to. So I have them dive deep into those things. I'm not there to call them right or wrong because I'm also not an expert in mental health. So at the same time, who am I to call them out on it? Usually it's just understanding their journeys and what they do and how they do it. And if it's valuable to our listeners, they'll get in touch. And so it's kind of like an eye-opening experience. One of the other things that I kind of look to do as well, and if you look at the BDP, I think we've done something that nobody else in the Alberta region has done. And I made a very strong effort to interview every part of the ecosystem. So I have interviews with Edmonton Unlimited. I have interviews with Aaron. I have interviews with, Edmonton Chamber of Commerce, with Alberta Innovates, with Prairies Can. And I asked each one of them, explain to me how you fit into this ecosystem. And I'll be honest, Steve, I still don't have the answers. I've interviewed all of them. I still don't quite understand how it all pieces together. And I think that says something for the Alberta ecosystem. Like we almost need a company or a governing board who can take everything each one of them does, sit in front of a company and say, these are the ones who can help you. These are the ones who kind of can't. But it's very interesting because I tried to shine a light on it and make it more revealing and more understandable. And I think I walked away feeling more confused, more confused than
I think
anything.
business and economics are a great platform or venue to explore issues on. It's not left and right. Those
That's
words
right.
are 200 years old and they're not relevant. What
Yeah,
counts is, what are they doing? Is it working? Would it work for us?
exactly. 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 Nailed it. Nailed it. And it's
Okay.
and it's awesome because one of the things I did learn in the Alberta ecosystem is that we are incredibly fortunate, even though it's a little bit hard to understand or a lot hard to understand. The options available to us as Alberta based businesses is exceptional. It's exceptional. The amount of supports that the government has for us is exceptional. But I think what we need, like I said, and I've talked with Janice about, is we just need a better way of showing people how that all fits together for them. I think that there needs to be another one. There needs to be another board who pulls it all together.
If I can make a suggestion, there's on November 4th, they're going to announce national programs or programs of national development. And these are economic corridors that actually could be profound in the long term. Like they could be truly transformational over many years. However, they are actually the best way of dealing with stuff that has to be dealt with now. I think we should actually try to get people involved in that, or let people know that there will certainly be an abundance of jobs for tradesmen. And there may be a role that other, techie people can play. Um, but like I consider it to be worth betting the ranch on, because actually there's a very good chance that that's what it will be.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think our Alberta's future is amazing, right? It's just what comes next and how do smaller companies get support? And I think there is lots of support. I think I've spoken with enough people now and enough leaders in that space, in the Alberta ecosystem space, whose job is to catalyze, let's call it, Alberta-based business. There's a lot of support and there's very little understanding of how it all works or who is the right person to go to. Actually, I think being in this room here at Erin is a great option because I think Janice does have a pretty good pulse on what's going on here. And so I think she is a great person to reach out to for where to start for those in the room who might be looking for that government support. But even Edmonton Unlimited is another one worth looking at. But, understand that like all of this stuff is coming from Prairies Can. All of this money is coming from Alberta Innovates, things like that. We need a better understanding of how the entire system works so that we best know who to reach out to. So, for those of you looking for a great business idea, figure out how to be the knowledge center between all of these organizations and other companies. I think that could be super valuable as an idea.
And I think we can get wind in our sails if we pick up on a few of these current events that are, could be productive.
Yeah.
I'm going to back off now and listen. Thank you.
Sounds great, Steve. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank
Kelly,
you.
this is Reza again from Iran.
Hey, Reza.
We haven't met in person, but yeah, it was interesting hearing, your feedback. And I'm a business owner myself as well, a small business owner. And yeah, I feel the same way. There are lots of gaps in the ecosystem. But if you can just elaborate more on what exactly is the reason behind you think there should be another board and another, kind of another platform, I'd say, because, whenever that we are talking about another board, it means that we're going to have another parallel kind of platform. And again, it would be just a similar kind of ecosystem with no tangible kind of impacts. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Sure. I think that no business owner, Riza, knows where to go for that support. They don't know if Prairies Can is the right place to go. They don't know if Edmonton Unlimited is the right place to go. They don't know if Erin is the right place to go. They just have no idea. They don't know who to reach out to. And depending on the initiative, it may or may not work for them. So, like, for instance, Prairies Can, they're interested in medtech. They're interested in AI. They're interested in, agriculture stuff, right? But there's there's a lot of companies outside of those fields who still need support and they don't know where to go, even though there could be things available to them. So what I'm kind of suggesting here is that maybe it doesn't need to be a new board, but maybe it's a new position. Maybe that position opens up at Erin, and maybe that position is come to us for consult. We understand everything. We understand, what Prairies Can's interests are. We know what Alberta Innovates interests are. We know what funding is going to Edmonton Unlimited for. We know what funding is coming to us, because I get, even for you guys, you don't actually touch any of the money. You essentially consult with Edmonton Unlimited, right? In order to promote different things. Like Edmonton Unlimited becomes the bank, right?
Yeah.
So
Service
it's just
provider,
like,
yeah. Not the
yeah,
bank,
right.
service provider, yeah.
Yeah. So all I'm suggesting is these are things I've learned through a lot of conversations. And I can tell you that there still seems to be a piece missing. And I think that piece missing is where could any entrepreneur go to understand what supports are available in the total ecosystem, not just one or two of the initiatives.
Perfect. So now my question is, do you think that it's our job or the government job? Because technically we are working under an umbrella, right?
Yeah.
And all these platforms are actually funded through the government.
Well, I would argue that you don't have all the pieces no more than any of them do, right? Like
Yeah.
Edmonton Unlimited doesn't have all the pieces. I'm sure they're not super concerned with what Prairie's Can are after unless it's tech related, right? So
Yes.
like, but what about like the regular entrepreneur? What about the service-based guy? What about the Daniel Friesens of the world who's here? Good to see you, Daniel. Who's out there, you know,
yeah.
shooting the photos for all of the big corporations out there. Where's his help?
Okay, Colin, you know, just regarding your answer, uh, it's interesting because we even tried to technically go out and explore more avenues, but there is a cap on what we can do, and that's why I said, you know, maybe, you know, I'm not sure, but maybe we need some help from the higher ups as well,
I
because
think you're right. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. That's why I said maybe I'm wrong about the way that I'm approaching it. All I'm saying is that I've interviewed pretty much the entire ecosystem. And the one thing that I realized after interviewing the entire ecosystem is there's no one solution. Like there's no one person who
Mhm.
understands what is available in total and who could help every single company, right?
Yeah,
If
I want to step in there for a little bit. What's really interesting is when you say the entire ecosystem, I also would be cautious on that, right? Because, for example, a Business Link, I sit on the board there as well, and so that's a whole other genre and a whole other space, and that would be there's a lot more to it. And this is what makes it so complex. And you know, Kelly, how incredibly important I feel about this whole space. And I don't want to make the whole conversation about this, but because it really is about podcasting and getting your
Sure.
voice there and creating great space for entrepreneurs, which is what I think we all kind of showed up and signed up to do, right? But there is the whole ecosystem is not Edmonton Unlimited or ERIN or Business Link or
yes.
Traders Can or anything. It is literally probably the bottom up, the entrepreneurs out there working their butts off every day trying to make things happen. Our thing is, you know, everybody kind of sections off a little corner of that. And I think the problem with that is we're all sectioning off little corners of it, but we're not necessarily making it easier for everybody to interconnect, right?
Yeah.
And I
It's
think
very hard.
ERIN is actually trying to do some of that. So
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. Like I've had lots of conversations with Janice. We've had this conversation. Yeah, I think there are people who are doing the best they can. All I'm saying is that like we have a ton of supports out there, Colin, and I just don't think that every business is getting the reasonable access that they should because they have no idea who to talk to. Yeah. And it's too bad because maybe it's not a big position. Maybe it's literally one person. Maybe it's just this like one rock star community member who truly does a ton of research on all of this and is able to you know, take a phone call and say, you need to talk to Erin. They have an initiative going on right now, or you need to talk to Edmonton Unlimited, or you know what, Alberta Innovates is interested in this. Talk to these people there. You know, we need that. We need some, in my opinion, we need somebody as a connector to truly unify all of this ecosystem to something that is easy to understand, not complex.
Uh,
But anyways, yes, we got off
it's
topic.
amazing, you know. Yeah, because that person can be overwhelmed, you know, super easy, right? You know, just within a
Totally.
day, he can receive millions of emails or calls and stuff. So technically, that's why I'm saying probably, you know, we need to integrate that within the platforms that we already have, or somehow, you
Yeah.
know, just try to create an embedded kind of mechanism inside the you know, the ecosystems, and also the platforms in the ecosystem. But yeah,
Hmm.
we can discuss about that much more.
Yes, absolutely. Well, heck, maybe it's even something as simple as uploading all of this information into chatbots and having them answer questions. Who knows? Maybe it's not that complex. Maybe it's a very easy thing to solve. I think that there's a lot of entrepreneurs who are out there doing service-based business, who are out there providing very valuable services, who maybe don't meet the priorities of Alberta Innovates right now or Prairie's Can right now because they're very interested, like I said, in the med tech space, in the AI space, in ag tech, right? But there's
Yeah.
a lot of companies out there who are doing great work who still need support, who still need that additional support, who an influx of a grant for $10,000 could make all the difference in their organizations. And maybe that grant is even available to them, but it's just not easy to understand the ecosystem or where they could go to get it. That's all. That's all I was getting at.
100%,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't mean to get off on tangent there. It happens sometimes. Leanne, I want to bring it back to you. Do you mind hopping up? I'd love to meet you.
Sure thing.
Hey, Leanne.
Hi.
Okay, what you had a question regarding KPIs for BD. I love that. I love that. So I guess what does it come down? What I do in my business development training is we reverse engineer business development to something that we can actually measure. So I'm gonna do a little exercise with you. Do you run your own business?
No.
Okay. Okay. Do you do business development for a company?
Yeah, I've done business development in a number of companies.
Okay, amazing, amazing. So let's do a hypothetical scenario with regards to KPI. So I I always start by saying we have to measure business development in a measure that we can actually control. Can you make a customer buy?
No,
No. So even if you have the best proposal out there, is there a chance that they might not pick it?
absolutely.
Okay. So that being the case, can we measure success in revenue?
No,
No. No, we can't. But we can know for our companies statistically how much business they close, and we can measure our success on numbers. Would that be a fair way to put it?
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so if we look at a company's growth, so let's assume that you're working for a company and hypothetically they want to grow by $1 million here in 2026. Let's say that also hypothetically they have an average customer value of $100,000. We know that in this new paradigm, we need to close 10 new clients in 2026 in order for them to achieve their $1 million growth. Fair?
Yeah.
Perfect. So we need 10 clients. Now, in business development, if you met with a client, let's say that you met with somebody is the very first time, maybe you're meeting virtually, maybe you're meeting for lunch, whatever it be, and you had something that they needed. You know for a fact you had a great conversation with them. They said, "Yep, we actually need this product and service. We'll likely submit an RFP." What would you say your odds are of closing that client in the next year as a new client for that business?
I don't know.
Okay, let's just make a
Because the
Yeah,
reason why
that's
I'm
fine. That's
confused,
fine.
the reason why I'm confused is because I work for the University of Alberta.
Oh,
So
okay.
my clients are very different in
Sure,
business
sure.
development. But
Probably pretty high if at the University of Alberta, right? Like if you're having lunch with somebody about a product or service for the school, the university, probably a pretty solid chance that you're going to do business with them at some point over the next 12 months. Probably let's assume it's 50-50. Let's just give it 50-50. I like to when we're not really sure, I just say 50-50 because it's an easy way to do it. But most people, if you've gotten to a point where you've had a meeting, you've had a chance to explain your product and service, you know that it's something that company is going to need. I would say your odds of closing their business is probably a 50-50 over the next year. Some businesses higher, some businesses lower. Construction can be much lower, just it's a tighter industry. But most service-based industries, it's about 50-50 or better. So in this particular case, let's just say 50-50. So we know that we need to close 10 new customers. We also know that we're going to close it 50-50, which means if we take that 10 and we divide that by 0.5, we know that we're going to need to meet with 20 companies. So in order to close our 10 new clients at a 50-50 closure rate, we're going to need to meet with 20 new companies over the next year. And so that would be the KPI. I think out of all the KPIs that matter in business development, it's how many meetings are you having? And statistically, based on a best guess closure rate, based on an actual revenue number that you're looking to grow by, how many customers we need, what is the meeting number that statistically is going to get us there? I always say, whenever you're lost, go back to the math. Go back to the math. It'll bring you out. But that's actually really good news because it's much better than being in business development and having somebody pin you down and say, "I want you to make us $20 million this year." And that's all I'm measuring you on. It's like, well, what does that mean? I can't make them buy. But if we know the numbers and we know the statistics and we can take the math back to meetings, that way you can put the power back in your pocket. Meetings is something that you can control in business development. So you just got to figure out a way to make those KPIs something you can actually control. That would be the way that I would go about doing it. And it doesn't matter whether you're selling, courses or whether you're selling actual products. It works the same.
so this is how I'm pushing back. The companies that I've done business development for were all small prior to the
Okay.
University of Alberta.
Okay.
They were all very small and they were not technology focused companies.
Yeah.
So they didn't have a lot of the tools. Everything was done on a spreadsheet.
Okay.
Everything. I was managing a multi-million-dollar project on spreadsheets. And so
Wow.
anyway, and that's true. It's small to medium-sized enterprises make up the bulk of Canada, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is when this goes to my question about the tools. I get to the university and my role is to sort of business develop for our unit. So our unit supports researchers that are exploring commercialization and startups that emerge from the U of A. So my business development tends to be going internal to say, okay, we're here, number one. Number two, here are some services we offer. Please let your people know that, we're doing this. And then also
Yep.
to liaise with industry to say, hey, if you're wanting to access, our population or whatever it is, I can work with you to, just help you. So there are no numbers. There's no customer acquisition amount.
Yeah.
There are no
Interesting.
KPIs. There are no, although the KPIs of an individual will obviously be connected to an organization KPIs or an organization's goals, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But my KPIs are irrelevant for that.
Interesting. How do you know? Okay, what are the goals of the program? Because in theory, you have to take the goals of the program and reverse engineer it. So, like in a case of a corporation, the goal is money, right? But the
Yep.
goal maybe isn't money for you. What is the goal? Is it introduce the university to 200 people this year? Like we have to reverse engineer the KPI from the end goal of the university.
Well, the part of the team, maybe I shouldn't have been so specific about what team I was working on, but the part of the team that I'm working on is 2 years old. So we're
Okay.
still sort of figuring out what all our programs are, what all our products are. But
Okay.
I find myself in this position actually in a number of situations. I used to work for nonprofits and I would help them raise funds to sort of expand what they were offering, but often it was to navigate funding gaps and ups and downs.
Yeah.
And so when I moved to Alberta, I just flipped it for the private sector, which is business development. Like I really just sort of went, okay, I'm going to help you achieve your organizational goals and maintain operations. So I fell into business development. But even in nonprofits, the KPIs are really unclear. No one has ever in the private sector, no one's ever required me to, have a dollar figure. So I think that's kind of older school thinking. And so, at the university, I'm certainly not required to do that. But I struggle with articulating how I'm doing it well.
Okay. Okay.
We're at the point where we say, well, we worked with X number of startups and we held this many meetings and these are the events we held. And like these things are
Yeah.
not really a reflection. Like they show us
Yeah.
busy.
Okay. Okay. I can see your challenge 100%. I guess for almost everything that I do, it's all in the B2B space, right? So most of the time when I'm out there doing business development, I either have to show companies how I'm making the money or how I'm saving the money, one way or another. You got to tie it back to one of those two things. When I'm doing it for like business development on behalf of like corporations or things like that, it is almost always about how do you achieve a revenue growth goal for the year. Now that doesn't matter whether it's Fluor Driver trying to achieve 60 million or whether it's a smaller organization trying to achieve their first 500,000. The
Mhm.
goal is the same. And if you can understand how their products and service work and who their average customer is, how much an average customer buys, how much they're looking to grow by, you can use the math to get there. What you put forward was something I've actually never come across before in my entire business development career. And it's trying to essentially, how do you tie success when the success isn't revenue? I'm
Mhm.
not saying that the same principles couldn't work for you, but what I'm suggesting is you have to understand what the end goals are. Because if business development for business development's sake doesn't make any sense,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And I can tell that you agree with that because right now you're saying like how do I know if I'm winning?
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. We have to figure out in business development, how do we control or how do we know we're winning? How do we know we're winning? I like to, in the case of corporations or financial based goals, I like to tie business development to revenue, but I tie it to revenue in such a way that I can control it, which is using statistics to get to a meeting number. Because if I can sit down at the end of the week and say, I know that statistically I need to book 5 meetings a month for this client and we just did 6, I can go home on Friday and feel good. I can go home on Friday and actually enjoy my weekend and not freak out about whether or not we're on track or not, right? Because statistically, I know that if I book 5 meetings a month for this client, we are going to hit our revenue growth goal. So my challenge to you would be try to figure out what KPI, like what is the end goal of the university? Are they trying to generate a certain revenue number? Are they trying to just connect a certain number of businesses to opportunities? What is the goal? And once you understand the goal, you can put together the reverse engineered pieces to put it to something that you can actually control. But I would say try to get it to something that you can control. Maybe that is a meeting number. Maybe that is a certain number of introductions, but you got to figure out how to tie that to something that's in your control. Otherwise, you're absolutely right. I like to call it the BD hamster wheel. Most people are stuck on the BD hamster wheel because they don't know how to tie business development to a KPI.
Well, that's good feedback. What I was saying before was, a lot of the small businesses, they don't necessarily have their customer acquisition costs, or they don't know how much, for sales, how much they grew one year over another. Like they're just sort of making it work, and they're sort of building.
And that's fine. That's fine. I'm not asking them to nitpick right down to the perfect. What I'm asking from most of these organizations is to give me your best guess. Give me your best guess, right? Because even at best guess, we're still pretty close. So if I talk to an organization, like I said, they want to make $1 million in new revenue this year. Great. They know that maybe not all customers, maybe only like a fraction of them, but technically every company can figure out what their average customer value is. I get that it's not necessarily the same year over year, but it's as easy as adding up the total revenue you sold last year and divide it by the number of people you sold it to. That does give you an average. And we can work from that average, which is statistically accurate, to come up with a meeting number that makes sense.
Yep, that's a good point.
Right.
I will just add one more thing. I know I've been on here a lot, but we were talking about bringing together the ecosystem. I mean, if it's of interest, I offer a weekly business development opportunities email that I send out.
Amazing.
It just is a roundup of a bunch of different business development opportunities for new entrepreneurs to the ecosystem.
Okay.
And so it's just one way that I'm sort of trying to contribute to that ecosystem, because people don't know when they enter it. They don't know where to look, particularly newcomers. They don't know that there's all these amazing resources out there. And so that's just my way of doing it.
Leanne, that would be amazing. Can you drop the link for that newsletter inside of the chat for the people that are on the call?
I can't do that.
Okay. Okay.
It's for everyone. It's not, confined to the U of A, but we haven't got it on our website yet.
Oh, I see.
Bureaucracy, right? So we haven't got it on our website. So basically what I'll do is I'll drop my email.
Okay.
Let me know and I'll just add them.
Okay, amazing. Well, if anybody's interested in that, shoot Leanne an email. And thank you, Leanne. I do appreciate that. It does sound challenging. And if you want to have a conversation offline about maybe trying to figure out what those KPIs could be, I'd be happy to do that with you.
That would be great.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, who is next? Okay, Colin, do you want to hop back on here?
I'm here. You've clearly nailed all the questions really well. Actually, that was a really good discussion, regardless of anything else, on podcasting and business development, a little bit all over the place for that, which is really cool. Ecosystem and navigating that. So really good. Do you want me to come up with more questions, or are you just to pick on me or something?
No. I just you've been around this ecosystem so much longer than I have. Like that's just the truth. Like I've been in this, guys, like as far as like the Edmonton ecosystem digging, I'm 3 years in. I really got into trying to understand it when I launched the business development podcast. Ahead of that, my concerns was mostly just working with my clients, make sure they were getting meetings, right? Like that was kind of the whole thing of capital business development, and still is. But I became a lot more interested in how this ecosystem worked when I started talking with a lot of founders. And it wasn't just founders of tech companies. It was founders of service-based companies, founders of trucking companies. It was just founders of companies, all around, who were like, this is great, but I struggle with this, or I'm having a hard time with this. And I think the important thing to remember through it all is that we're all human. We're all human first, business owners second, and we're all struggling and we're all in this together. And I guess community is the secret. It really is the answer to everything. I couldn't have grown as much as I have in the past years without meeting with you, Colin, without meeting with, Edmonton Regional Innovation, Janice, Amin Samji with the Edmonton Chamber, just the various business owners of the Edmonton business community, right? It's community that grows your business. I think maybe that's the most important takeaway from this. We're going to talk about business development. It's the people you surround yourself with that make the biggest impact on your organizations and the impact that you're going to have in the world. So
Yeah.
I'm going to close it, Colin, by just saying surround yourself by great people. And I think we already do a great job of that right here in Edmonton.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I greatly agree with you. And we've talked a little bit about this even with some of the strategic planning and stuff, in the sense that there's these two sides. Like, we have a lot of our ecosystem, and tools like this and groups like this are funded by the governments, right? Federal and provincial, and even a little bit municipal, and we're supremely grateful. And a lot of these things wouldn't happen. We wouldn't have these spaces and these communities if it wasn't for that. So that's really important. The problem is that, the golden rule reigns, right? Where the gold, whoever has the gold makes the rules. And so
Yeah.
there's a kind of a focus or a spotlight that comes from the government entities that require and ask for, rightly so, their constituents to give feedback into that group to be able to work with certain things. And it's tough. Nobody can take on all of it. And so, but then there's the communities and the entrepreneurs themselves. And I love your community, Kelly, because of the diversity of it. We have people from all over the place, and it is service based, or all over the place, product based, all kinds of things, not always just tech. And there's nothing wrong with that either. And so, but these two groups are having a translation issue, kind of like investors and entrepreneurs, right? They speak a different language. They're both trying to get the same outcome, but they speak a different language. And I make a life out of doing that translation process,
Yeah.
right? As a pitch coach, as a mentor. So because of that translation issue, we have these bumps and this weirdness in the middle. These people want something and need it, and these people want something and need it, and they're not always gelling in the middle. So what I love about what you do, Kelly, is, in groups like EO, or, groups like Business Link, or groups like AWE, hyper focused on a certain area, or kind of a general just group where people can get together and talk, or, we need all of them. The problem is it's very tough to navigate. But, go to Catalyst, through Kelly, and get a really refined group of people talking deeply about business development and life and connection, and that kind of stuff. Or go to EU and watch events and see things happen. And, so there's all of these parts, and they have to work together. You think we're a million people with cats and pets included in Edmonton. And then you go to Boulder, Colorado, or Silicon Valley, where there's tens of millions of people, and it changes the dynamic, right?
Yeah.
But it also is a different ecosystem. So we have some beautiful things here, being a large village, right? Which gives us some benefit, but it also has some inherent difficulties.
Yeah.
So I don't have an answer to navigate any of that. I'm sharing your frustration and your wish to see everybody kind of work better together. And I think we all have to have more open hands, and then
Yeah.
allow all of us to navigate and point people in the right direction so we can do a better job, right?
Yeah. We need more safe spaces where people feel comfortable coming and having those hard conversations, right? And if I want to make a quick pitch for Catalyst Club, that's what we're doing. Like, Catalyst Club, it's full of leaders, but as much as it is a business community, the stuff we talk about there is very human, right? A lot of the stuff we're talking about is real mental health challenges, real just life challenges. There's a lot of people in there who are there asking for business support or entrepreneurial support or questions. And, at any given time, at pretty much any meetup, we probably have 100+ years of entrepreneurial experience right there in that room to help you out. But so many of the challenges that we face as business owners, they're human challenges, and having a safe space to be able to come and share that in a private community where you're speaking with people who get you and understand that to me is the power of Catalyst Club. And the cool thing too about it, like you said, Colin, is that what I'm realizing is that it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Many of us are all struggling with the same things. Imposter syndrome is real all over the world. Being afraid is real all over the world. Dealing with mental health or just feeling empty is real all over the world. You're not in this alone. No matter what you're feeling, no matter what you're going through, the challenges you're facing are universal. And I think that might be one of the greatest things of Catalyst Club, is just seeing how normal you probably really are.
Yeah, it's great. True. Well, that's good. I mean, I think we have another 6 hours we can fill with stuff, yeah, I mean, we've got, roughly 15 minutes if anybody wants to pipe up and say anything else or ask Kelly a question. But, I'll echo what Kelly said, and I think Janice kind of said the same thing before too, is there's a reason that you exist in this city, and we're really grateful to have you here. Your community is excellent, as I can attest to from being there and contributing and benefiting on both sides of the equation. So good for that. And we just need more folks doing great things to help entrepreneurs figure out and live the struggle,
Yeah. And I would say too, like just an add-on to that, like if you are an expert in something, and my argument would be everybody still left in this room, guaranteed you're an expert in what you do, no matter what it is, maybe multiple things. There's people who could really benefit from what you know. And it's never been easier to hop on behind a microphone, behind a video, and share your knowledge with the world. And honestly, I'm not sure that I would still be doing the business development podcast if I wasn't able to have people reach out and say how impactful it's been. And Colin, it's been incredible. Like hundreds and hundreds of people reached out from around the world and said, I got the job because of you. I changed my business because of you. Like that's the impact you can have. All I did was got behind a mic and started talking. Every single one of you could do the same thing.
Cool. Yeah. I don't know. I can't look as good as you, Kelly, but I can, I can talk.
Well, you got more hair than me. You're doing great. You're winning.
It's going away fast. Awesome.
No, I think that's a good place to wrap it up, Colin.
Yeah, thanks again, Kelly. I appreciate all you do, and it's nice to have you on. And I think hopefully everybody benefited as much as I did from it. So
amazing. And yeah, if you don't follow me yet on LinkedIn, shoot me a connection request. Let me know where we connected, and love to get you all get to know you all better. That's the right mush mouth word.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. We'll edit that out later.
There we go.
All right. Thanks again, everybody. Enjoy your day.
See ya.
Thank you, everyone.